Hospital visits in New South Wales have been relaxed, allowing more people to be by the side of a dying loved one. COVID restrictions and border closures have spelled heartbreak for thousands of Australian families who've been prevented from being with family members as they've died. We're joined now by the Managing Director and Lead Educator of Preparing the Way End-of-Life Doula Training in Education across Australia and New Zealand, Helen Callanan. Helen, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Brendan. It's wonderful to have an opportunity to talk about this important move.
Well, just how relieved are you by these changes in New South Wales?
Oh, look, this is going to sound a little weird, but I actually had tears in my eyes when I heard it this morning, and I just pray it's widespread across all of Australia. You know, the impacts, Brendan, of this have been so deeply far-reaching on so many levels. There's been a lot of collateral damage, and I don't think we've even scratched the surface of it yet.
Well, we don't have all the details yet. The New
Yes.
South Wales Premier, Dominic Perrottet, he's due to make an announcement to the full changes this morning. What would you like to see, though?
Look, obviously we still have to be responsible and mindful, of the safety of the staff and the residents and people in the hospital, patients and everybody. But I think, we can really relax the amount of time that people can be. So what's happened a lot is that people either are not allowed in at all, or one person may be allowed in for an hour or something like that, or one at a time. And there's so much emotional support needed at this time, both for the families and or people close to the person who might be dying. To go in one at a time can be a really stressful thing. People being kept away from their person really leads to a lot of anxiety and guilt and fear. For those people dying, most people gain a lot of reassurance, Brendan, from having their people close to them. Reassurance they won't be forgotten, reassurance that everyone's going to be okay, that they're wanting permission to be able to die, to have their hand held, to their brow soothed, just those simple things that make such a difference to both the person who's dying and those people close to them.
How damaging have these rules been for grieving families? What kind of stories have you been hearing?
Well, look, there's a lot. We've had stories, and as a doula, we're often working with families and or the person with the diagnosis to support them at this time of transition. And so we've been really trying to do a lot of what we call virtual or remote doulaing. The impact of people only being sometimes able to use technology. I just think, like this whole physical isolation thing we've had going on, Brendan, I think there's a lot of mental and emotional health fallout of these decisions and restrictions. Also, for example, when people have had to wear, all the staff and or family have had to wear PPE, the protective equipment, that people aren't recognised. People get scared by that look of this people coming, and they all look the same. They can't recognise their person. Also, the impact too, Brendan, on the nursing staff and allied health. They're burdened physically not only by the volume, but also emotionally and spiritually too, because whatever they do, couldn't be enough. And I've had many a senior, a very experienced nurse in tears talking to me about not only the physical and, if you like, labour impacts of their work, but also the emotional impacts of this time with COVID and the restrictions. Yeah.
Helen, I really appreciate your time this morning and taking us through this issue. We'll see what the New South Wales Premier, Dominic Perrottet, has to announce a little later this morning.
Yeah, I've got fingers and toes crossed, Brendan.
Thank you very much for your time. That's Helen Callanan, the Managing Director and Lead Educator of Preparing the Way End-of-Life Doula Training and Education across Australia and New Zealand.